everybody, Cori here. So it is the end of June, which means it is time for the mid-year book freakout tag. I believe this is our third year doing this tag, and it's one of our favorites to do every single year. A few members of the team are going to be filming their own video for it. If you didn't know, this video was originally created by Ellie and Chami, and I'll leave links to their channels in the description down below. Now, without further ado, let's just get into the questions, and we're going to kind of wrap up what happened in the first half of my reading year. So the first and probably most important question is, what is the best book you have read so far this year? And guys, I have read a lot of books so far this year. I'm not sure exactly how many, but over 100. And I would say my favorites have been Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo and Nevernight by J. Kristoff. Both of these are just really cool, very different adult fantasy novels. Ninth House is about a girl named Alex who has been recruited into Yale to perform tasks for a secret society. It's very cool. I really loved it, and I cannot wait for the rest of the world to get their hands on this in October. And Nevernight is about our main protagonist, Mia Corvera, and she, as a child, witnessed the death of her father and her imprisonment of her mother and little brother, and she is set on revenge, and she goes to the Red Church to train as an assassin. Both books, great fantasy, both of them very adult, but I just fell in love with both of these worlds. The second question, what is the best sequel you've read in 2019? And I have two answers for this. I read The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the third book in the Broken Earth trilogy, which is a really, again, another adult series, but it is a really cool blend of fantasy and sci-fi. And in this world there are things called seasons, and they're basically like catastrophic climatic events. And it was just such a beautiful series. It's so cleverly written. I loved every single book, and if you are into adult fantasy, please, I implore you to pick this up. And the second one I'm going to talk about is Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray, and this is the second book in the Diviners series, and I fell in love with the Diviners this year after having kind of a hit and miss start with Libba Bray, and I'm so glad that I gave her another chance, because The Diviners is such a great historical fiction, but also paranormal series. It's scary, but it's wonderfully written, and I just cannot wait for the next book in this series to come out. The third question is a new release that you haven't read but really want to, and I am ashamed I haven't read this yet because it was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is King of Fools by Amanda Foody. Ace of Shades is one of my all-time favorite OwlCrate books. I absolutely love it, and I was like eager to get my hands on King of Fools. For some reason, I just haven't picked it up yet. I think it's been out for over a month, so I really need to get on that. Next up is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I definitely have to say The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I'm forgetting the synopsis, but I believe it has something to do with magical hidden libraries, and anything to do with anything that's set in a fictional library just immediately earns a place in my heart, and I cannot wait to read this. Question 5 is your biggest disappointment of the year so far. Now, I'm very lucky to have read a lot of really great books already this year. I've given out tons of different 5 stars, but I think the least favorite book I've read so far this year was Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Maybe it was because I listened to the audiobook, but I just found Bernadette to be so whiny, and I just felt like I really just didn't like her as a character. And then, of course, Where'd You Go? We kind of lose her for a while. I didn't feel any connection to her kids or her husband, and I just didn't like it. It was a 2-star read for me, and disappointed I didn't like it more. Question 6 is, what is the biggest surprise you've had this year? I went with The Girl from the Other Side is a manga series. I picked this up completely on a whim, which I don't do very often, having never heard of it. I read the first volume and knew I needed to keep reading, because they are just so eerie and dark, and the color palette is so like, it's just black and white, but it's cute and it's scary and it's heartfelt, and it's like, I'm so curious about what is happening in this world, and I just really like it. I had never heard of it before, and it's one I definitely recommend. Question 7 is, what is your new favorite author? And that's either a debut or new to you. And I picked a new to me author, and that is James S.A. Cori, who is actually 2 different people writing under a pen name. But they write the Expanse series, which I've talked about multiple times on this channel and in our live videos. It is one of my new all-time favorite series. It's a big, epic space opera, and I just absolutely love it. James S.A. Cori, good one, a good new author in my books. Question 8 is your newest fictional crush. I had to think pretty hard about this. I didn't have anybody really pop to mind right away, but I ultimately went with Trick from Nevernight. I really liked Trick's character. I don't know if he would like make my list of fictional book boyfriends, but I definitely felt a sense of endearment towards him. Question 9 is your newest favorite character. Again, bringing up the Expanse series, I went with Jim Holden, who is the captain of the Rosadante and kind of starts off as the main character in the series, even though it goes on to have a very large cast of characters. He is just such an interesting character. He is all about telling the truth, and even when telling the truth maybe isn't the best idea. So he's flawed, but he's also deeply passionate and loving and just cares so deeply about his crew and his ship, and I just really like his character. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. Now, I don't know that any books have actually made me cry this year, like actual shed tears, but the saddest book I could think of was Written in the Stars by Aisha Saeed. This is a contemporary book about a girl with very conservative Pakistani parents, and they find her breaking their rules and they take her to Pakistan for what she thinks is time of just getting back in touch with her roots, and it goes on to be much more heart-wrenching than that. The book itself was beautifully written and very well done, but it was just heartbreaking in every single way. And question 11 is a book that made you happy, and I am much more into this question. I went with Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. This is a just so heartwarming graphic novel about a southern-born boy named Biddy who starts at university, and he used to be a figure skater and he has joined the hockey team, and it is just so great. I loved it so much. I cannot wait to read more of it. I know it is a webcomic as well, but I haven't dived into that part yet. Question 12 is, what is the most beautiful book you have bought or received this year? I don't have it yet because it was a pre-order of The Starless Sea, but I bought the Waterstones edition of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I just couldn't pass it up. It is so beautiful, and you can't tell, but it has these like gorgeous stenciled sprayed pages, and I knew when it went on sale that even if I don't like this book, and I think I'm gonna like the book, it's one of my, as I said, most anticipated releases of the rest of the year. This book is just beautiful. I had to have it. And the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And all of them? I don't know. I didn't plan an answer for this question. I have about 50 books on my TBR, and I would like to get that down just a little bit more, just because they're kind of squishing on there and I would like to make them fit a bit better. But I just finished the second book in the Unwind Histology by Neil Schusterman, so I'd like to get around to reading the last 2 books in that series, and I think that's going to be my answer. I am very much a mood reader, so I tend to read things just as I pick and choose, just whatever I'm feeling in the moment, but there are of course some OwlCrate books that I can't talk about that I'm also really looking forward to for the last half of the year. Alright, so that was the mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you're doing this tag in the comments down below. It's one of my favorites to watch. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more videos every single week. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Bye!